Well, hey folks, in preparation for the final stages in the Donna Adelson murder trial in Tallahassee, we've reached a turning point. The state has rested, and now it's Donna's turn to defend herself against the accusations that she orchestrated the 2014 murder-for-hire plot that claimed the life of Florida State University law professor Dan Markel. Now, her daughter's ex-husband, keep in mind, and the guy who was blocking her from getting her grandchildren near her. You see, for years, the Adelson family projected wealth and unity, but in this courtroom, that image has crumbled. Adelson's daughter has testified, in part softening her mother's anger during the bitter divorce and custody fight, but her estranged brother, Robert, the son of Donna Adelson, painted a far different picture, describing his mother as controlling, controlled the family decisions, and had an unsettling lack of curiosity after Markel's killing. With her son Charlie already sentenced to life in prison, along with convicted hitmen Garcia and Rivera and Magbanawa, they're also behind bars. Prosecutors are arguing that Donna is the last piece in this long conspiracy. And the evidence is heavy: wiretaps, jailhouse witnesses, and their attempted flight to Vietnam. So how does her defense respond to something like this? I mean, they're going to try to reframe her as a desperate mother, not a criminal mastermind. But that strategy might only work if Donna actually takes the stand herself. In fact, she's going to have to explain that script that she wrote, and she'll have to deny claims that she confessed behind bars. She's going to have to convince jurors that her own words were emotional, not conspiratorial. It's the gamble of her life. Does she stay silent and look guilty, or testify and risk being torn apart on cross-examination? Well, hey folks, welcome to Profiling Evil, and thanks so much for tuning in. This murder case has so many tentacles. I think we're going to learn a lot as this thing continues on, and I hope you'll take a moment and hit that like and subscribe button and ring the bell. Make sure you've got notifications turned on, folks. That way you won't miss a single episode as new videos drop. And please consider sharing Profiling Evil with your friends. Now let's look at the testimony of Donna Adelson's children in what I'm calling a house divided. The murder of Markel has captivated true crime enthusiasts all over for more than a decade. The case has unfolded like a Shakespearean tragedy, pitting family members against one another in a web of alleged conspiracy, financial incentives, and deep-seated animosity. At the center of this story is the matriarch, Donna Adelson, a 75-year-old woman who's standing trial for first-degree murder, conspiracy to commit murder, and solicitation to commit murder. Now, prosecutors are arguing that Donna, along with her son Charlie Adelson, who's already convicted and sentenced to life in prison, masterminded the plot to eliminate Markel and allow her daughter and her two young sons to relocate from Tallahassee to South Florida, closer to the family. Now, this would circumvent a court order that prohibited the move due to Markel's parenting rights. The hitmen and their handler are already in prison as well. And now, two of the four co-convicts have testified for the prosecution. But it's the Adelson's family divide that I want to focus on. The prosecution called two witnesses in chief that I'm really interested in: Donna's children. A poignant and tense family reunion of sorts. Now, their appearances underscore the fractured dynamics within the Adelson family, a theme which has permeated the proceedings. Wendy, the ex-wife of Markel, the victim, is a law professor herself. She was composed, but appeared kind of evasive at times, often minimizing her mother's role in the divorce and post-murder events. In contrast, though, Robert, the estranged son, It painted a vivid picture of Donna as a controlling figure whose influence permeated every aspect of family life, including the events surrounding Markel's death. Now, the overall theme of their testimony, in my opinion, was one of family betrayal and revelation, with the prosecution using the siblings' words to build a narrative of Donna's domineering personality and her alleged obsession with fixing Wendy's life post-divorce, even if it meant by extreme measures. Now, behavioral moments really jumped out at me, such as Wendy's calm demeanor when recounting those heated emails, and Robert's matter-of-fact recounting of Donna's gleeful, in his opinion, attitude toward Markel's demise. These were all humanizing the abstract conspiracy charges. Yet the defense really did score some points on cross-examination by highlighting the siblings' limited direct knowledge of the event and of the family, potential biases. They reminded jurors that there were a bunch of emotional complexities at play. In essence, by showing Donna's controlling influence through her children's eyes, though, they laid a foundation for her to be the mastermind who conspired to remove Markel as an obstacle. However, the defense did again have some wins on cross-examination, reminding the jury that the state was putting on a circumstantial case. And I go right to Wendy Adelson and her testimony. Now, during her daughter's testimony, Donna Adelson appeared upbeat. Her mood seemed much different, though, when her estranged son testified. And I hope you'll take a moment and enter your comments about the behaviors you were observing down below, because I thought it was a really interesting dynamic. Now, prosecutors aimed to show what they believed was Donna's hatred for Markel, fueled by the divorce's impact on Wendy and the grandchildren, specifically how it impacted her. They introduced emails and texts that showed Donna was actively involved in the divorce, including making derogatory statements toward Markel. Now, Robert's account amplified this, describing Donna as the leader, so to speak, who micromanaged family decisions. And a powerful moment came when Wendy was confronted with a 2013 email that she sent to Donna expressing some frustration. In that, she said, quote, "I hate him so much, sometimes I can't stand it," close quote. Now, Wendy minimized this as venting, but her composed delivery, the fact that she avoided eye contact with her mother and focused on the jury, highlighted the theme of minimization to me. But he delivered a few bombshells. He said in his last conversation with Donna in 2016, she abruptly hung up when he mentioned the arrests that were made in Markel's case. And the state suggests that this is a consciousness of guilt. Now, during cross-examination, the defense did score some wins by emphasizing that the children had limited interaction with Donna post-murder, along with potential grudges perhaps in Robert's cases. Now, for Wendy, they proposed there were elicited admissions that she bore no responsibility for Markel's death, and that shifted the focus from family conspiracy to individual accountability. But for Robert's cross, he revealed infrequent visits. He'd only really been there a few times in 2012 to 2014, undermining his insights into the daily dynamic family dynamics. Now, the theme that I walked away with after their testimony, though, is that the Adelsons are a family torn apart by secrets, with the prosecution building kind of a mosaic of control and conspiracy, while given the defense chipped away at witness credibility. Now, the daughter's testimony spanned more than 5 hours, a marathon of direct and cross-examination that revealed her as a poised, articulate witness, traits I'm sure that she honed from her legal background. As Markel's ex-wife and the alleged beneficiary of the plot, her words carried weight, though, but she consistently downplayed Donna's influence, portraying her mother as a supportive parent rather than a controlling force. Now, this minimization aligns with her previous testimonies, but it clashes with documented evidence like those emails, things that created tension, and the prosecutor exploited it. Now, Wendy described her mother as involved, but not overly so, saying she was a mom who cared about her kid's life. But she says that she, Wendy, made her own decisions, and this sets a tone for minimization. When pressed on Donna's role in the divorce, Wendy admitted to sharing pleadings and seeking advice. I wonder what kid wouldn't. But she reminded the court that it was her divorce, not her mother's, and that her mother was just helping her vent. But the behavioral cues were kind of telling, in my opinion. Wendy again maintained steady eye contact with the jury. Her voice remained kind of even, but fidgeted slightly when discussing heated exchanges. Now, there was a poignant moment when she paused before admitting she once said that she hated Markel, but she quickly explained it as frustration from custody battles. And maybe some of you who have gone through those moments would understand the frustration she must have felt. Now, this moment, though, highlights the theme. Wendy was portraying emotional outbursts as normal divorce strife, not precursors to murder. And she emphatically denied any involvement, saying, "I was not involved in any plot to kill Danny." When she was asked about Donna's hatred for Markel, she said, yeah, she didn't like him. And she said, hate is strong. She was protective. Now, this minimization painted Donna as reactive, not proactive, weakening the conspiracy link. Yet, a powerful overview emerged because Wendy's testimony inadvertently reveals Donna's deep entanglement. As emails showed, Donna drafting responses and pushing relocation really aggressively. But Robert, make no bones about this, described Donna's personality as more assertive and more on the controlling side. When asked if Donna had fixed ideas for her children, he affirmed, yes, absolutely. He said if you went along with what she had decided to do, things were fine. If you didn't, things were not fine. This set a theme of conditional approval, implying Donna's intolerance for obstacles like Markel. Now, Robert also noted that Donna was more involved with Wendy post-divorce, and he described Donna's hatred for Markel, saying she absolutely hated him. He recalled Donna gleefully describing how she helped Wendy leave Markel. Robert's tone was detached, factual, perhaps due to the estrangement that's gone on, but it was powerful in its specificity. He recalled seeing Donna edit divorce emails in his home, and when the murder occurred, he learned about it through a phone call. Donna told him, hey, Danny's been shot. He didn't make it. He said there were no tears. It was matter of fact. She reportedly also provided him with a false narrative of what happened, saying that someone went to Markel's front door and said, are you Dan Markel? And then shot him. Now, Robert noted that this really bothered him as being inaccurate, and he thought it implied some insider knowledge. Robert also said he was troubled that no one in his family seemed curious about the murder, and it wasn't a subject for discussion. When he asked his mother, what do you think happened? She replied, I don't know, and I don't care. It doesn't concern me. Well, when Garcia and Rivera were arrested for the murder of Dan Markel, Robert spoke with Donna, and he said when he mentioned the arrest, Donna said, I've got to go, and hung up. Well, hey, folks, we're diving deep into the Adelson murder trial as the prosecution has wrapped up their side of this story here. This is a chilling saga of betrayal and hidden motives that tears a family apart. But I want to pause just long enough to encourage you to learn a little more about these kinds of behaviors in my new book, Wolves in Sheep's Clothing. It unmasks predators hiding in plain sight, just like the players we're seeing in Dan Markel's 2014 murder. In Chapter 7, called Shattered Echoes, I dive into the scars of violence, the PTSD, the fractured families, things like the Adelsons that we're seeing kids testifying against their mother. We see Donna accused of masterminding the plot. In Chapter 11, The Anatomy of Evidence, shows how emails, behavior, and forensics, even those things like Donna's suspicious detachment, build ironclad cases, and how predators cloak their intent, like Charlie Adelson's coded TV repair talk, masking a murder for hire scheme. Wolves in Sheep's Clothing is available in hardbound, paperback, ebook, and audio, and you can get a signed copy if you live in the United States and shipped free to you by going to profilingevil.com. Or you can get my book anywhere in the world on Amazon.com in all the formats. Hey, don't miss Wolves in Sheep's Clothing, but let's get back to this trial. Now, I believe the siblings' testimonies fortify the prosecution's case by establishing more motive, more opportunity, and a consciousness of guilt. Donna's alleged hatred, detailed in emails, and her controlling nature via Robert's testimony, paint her as an architect. Things like that relocation obsession, emails showing pushing bribes, calling for relocation, calling relocation non-negotiable, and the behavior exhibited like gleeful tones at the announcement of divorce or even death. The lack of curiosity around the murders when arrested. All of that, again, is really intriguing behaviors, because for the prosecution, the testimony may have swayed jurors toward conviction, but doubt still could linger. And one thing that's clear to me, the Adelson saga suggests that this is a family under pressure, and the state closed its case by introducing some of the most dramatic witnesses so far. Two women who weren't part of the Adelson family, but they shared a jail with Donna Adelson. And it gives us a glimpse into the person behind the courtroom mask. One inmate told the jury that Donna confided in her directly, admitting to direct involvement in Dan Markel's murder. She reportedly said that she did it to keep her grandkids, but she insisted that it wasn't supposed to go as far as it did. Now, if jurors believe this testimony, that single statement alone could cut through weeks of circumstantial evidence, planting Donna squarely inside the conspiracy. But then came another inmate who spent 4 months alongside Donna. Now, her testimony was as unsettling as it was bizarre, because she described Donna treating her more like a daughter in jail. She actually nicknamed this inmate Sunshine, painted her cheerful pictures, and even wrote notes to her with lines like, "I hope your life will be filled with joy and love and flowers," close quote. But beneath those sentimental gestures, the inmate said that Donna was grooming her for something a whole lot darker, because according to her, Donna wrote out a detailed script with a false narrative that she wanted her to tell on the witness stand. Now, in exchange, Donna allegedly promised the inmate 10 grand in cash, and grand being the key word, a grand piano. Now, the prosecution showed this so-called script as evidence, underscoring the accusation that Donna was willing to manipulate not only her family, but also fellow inmates in order to protect herself. The defense, however, pushed back hard, reminding jurors that jailhouse testimony is notoriously unreliable. Still, the optics of Donna allegedly orchestrating stories behind bars, while simultaneously showing no remorse for Markel's death, gave the state a powerful closing as they rested their case. And jurors were left to weigh the credibility of these two women against Donna's silence in court thus far. And boy, the state had an added gift, because there was a long Labor Day weekend that is allowing this testimony to sink in with the jury. But now, with the prosecution finished, the spotlight is going to turn to the defense, and they'll begin presenting their own witnesses in just a few days, hoping to recast Donna Adelson not as a calculating mastermind, but as a misunderstood grandmother who was caught in her son Charlie's orbit. Now, whether that strategy is going to be enough to unravel the testimony thus far is unknown, but the state's carefully built a narrative, and so this whole thing remains to be seen. But now all eyes are turning to Donna Adelson and her defense team. Their strategy, in my opinion, is pretty clear. Emphasize the lack of direct evidence linking her to Dan Markel's murder and chip away at the credibility of the witnesses who painted her as the matriarch behind the plot. But the reality is, much of the evidence the prosecution presented, those recorded wiretaps, the text messages, and especially that handwritten script that Donna gave a fellow inmate, doesn't go away on its own. Somebody has got to explain it. And it looks like that somebody's going to be Donna Adelson herself. Now, her attorney signaled before the trial that she planned to take the stand. So what might that testimony look like if she actually does? And do you think she will? I mean, I personally expect Donna to address the script head on. Now, the state says it was her way of manufacturing false testimony. The defense admits that Donna wrote it, but they're going to argue it wasn't part of a murder plot. Instead, they're going to say it's something that was the work of a desperate, distraught mother grasping for a way to help her son Charlie after his conviction. Now, she's going to have to deal with the damning narrative that she tried to flee justice too. Because remember, Donna and her husband were arrested at a Miami International Airport with a one-way ticket to Vietnam, a country that has no extradition treaty. Now, prosecutors call that consciousness of guilt. Donna will almost certainly counter that it's her own spin, the idea that she and her husband were traumatized, overwhelmed, and seeking a way to escape the crushing public pressure they were under. They weren't trying to run forever. Perhaps they might have even been attempting to manage their surrender on their own terms. But I don't think it's going to fly. And then there are those wiretaps, the phone records, and the coded conversations that prosecutors say reveal a family conspiracy. Donna's testimony is that her opportunity to reframe those words were simply innocent, emotional, maybe clumsy conversations between a worried mom and her son, that this wasn't a criminal mastermind pulling strings. And finally, she's going to have to push back against those jailhouse witnesses who claim that she confessed to murder. Now, the defense has already started painting those women as unreliable snitches who were chasing leniency. But Donna herself will likely deny ever admitting to murder, portraying their stories as manipulations that were born inside the walls of a jail. So in the end, this is a rare case where the defendant almost has to testify. Because if Donna Adelson stays silent, jurors are left with an avalanche of unanswered questions and incriminating interpretations. But if she speaks, she risks a brutal cross-examination. And she also, while she might get the chance to humanize herself as a mother and a grandmother, she's going to be somebody that the state might rip apart. But at least in her telling, she got to sweep tragedy under the rug rather than saying she orchestrated it. That decision to take the stand will likely be the biggest single gamble of this entire trial. And I'd really like your comments on whether you think she'll truly do it. I think she has to, although I'm sure it's against the best judgment of her attorney. And I'd really like your thoughts on this, because the defense hopes that by portraying Donna as a grandmotherly bookkeeper who was caught in Charlie's orbit, that she's incapable of risking everything when the custody and child relocation fight was already over, just isn't capable of committing or conspiring to commit murder. And I want to know what your thoughts are. So please, also hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, share Profiling Evil with your friends, and believe me when I say giving us a thumbs up really does help us grow in the community. Remember that you can find Profiling Evil on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter. And if you're more of an audio person who likes their true crime on the go, check out Profiling Evil's audio podcasts on your favorite podcast platform. And if you want more content, head over to profilingevil.com, where you'll find our story maps and all kinds of other great content. And while you're there, take a look at my other books. Now, we've talked about wolves in sheep's clothing, but check out Deceived, an investigative memoir of the Zion Society cult. It chronicles my investigation into a religious cult and how we took that thing down. And you know, when you buy that book, the proceeds are going toward helping law enforcement protect kids. We're not keeping that money. But you might also enjoy She Knew No Fear, the story of my great-great-grandmother's murder in 1891, and how I solved that case more than 130 years later. Now, I'm keeping the proceeds from that book, but if you love Old West stories, you won't want to miss She Knew No Fear. Hey, thanks for your support of Profiling Evil. We'll see you soon at the next crime scene.